Basketball is back, and BetOnline remains your number one source for all your sports betting needs this season. You'll always find the latest odds, team matchup info, player news, and game trends at BetOnline. And as your continued source for all sports wager information, BetOnline features live betting, free contests, and giveaways all season long. Always the fastest and easiest way to bet all your favorite sports and events, whether that's NFL, NBA, NHL, MMA, tennis, boxing, or even golf. Head to betonline.ag to join and receive your 50% welcome bonus with your first deposit. Make sure to use promo code BLEAV, that's BLEAV, to receive your rewards. It's BetOnline, where the game starts. Tell them the Noisemaker sent you.
Popcorn World. Popcorn World. Yeah. Can I make you move now? Yes, I can. So you can get this move in the back of a can. You can make it round the world when the holes in your hand. Popcorn World. 250 flavors gonna make you smile. 250 flavors gonna make you smile. 250 flavors gonna make you smile. I said popcorn make you smile. Ah. Popcorn World. Popcorn World. Popcorn World. Popcorn World. The Popcorn World.
You're now listening to BLEAV in the ACC with Heisman Trophy winner and Florida State legend, Mr. Charlie Ward, Wave 3 TV, and Burger Creek Hall of Famer, Kendrick Haskins, and Mr. Talking Noise himself, and of course, Mama Noise's name, Lloyd Smith. And now, it's time for BLEAV in the ACC.
I don't have fancy videos this week. I don't have broken down game tape, at least not in the same way. I offer first and foremost a formal apology.
We're not going to see the all 22 this morning?
No. Not this morning. But my apology is not what you guys think. It's not because I was wrong. It's because of how I blamed in our group chat Dino Babers for what was going on.
Thank you.
And I still blame him a little bit, but not as much as I did. Just a little bit, Charles. Just a little bit.
Everybody gets to blame.
Right, everybody gets to blame. But there's a lot to pass around here. But it wasn't as bad as what I thought it was. So we're gonna get into that here in just a second. But that's Kendrick Haskins. That's Charlie Ward. I'm Lloyd Spears. This is BLEAV in the ACC. We're gonna jump right into this thing because it was an interesting game. It was, first of all, let me say this. I think maybe the best ACC game we've seen so far. It was a good game. It was a fun game to watch anyway. And for about three and a half quarters, they made me look like a prophet. I was like, oh, here they're doing it. They're getting it done. It was 21-10 going into that third. And then there were some critical moments, and I jotted down the critical moments because I felt like that was what, this is where the game probably was decided in these plays. So at about 9 minutes to go in the third, Turner breaks this huge run, right, for Syracuse. Puts them in field goal range. They decide we're gonna go for they want to score again. Obviously, that's what you want to do, of course. They don't get it. And on the final play, I think Schrader takes a sack, which puts them out of field goal range. That was kind of a big play. because that would have put them up 28-10. They probably would have had most of the momentum. It would have been hard for anybody to come back from that, especially the way DJ was playing. So that was the first one. Now, they had a second chance after the DJ interception. Well, I think it was the fumble first and then the interception, right? I think, yeah, it was the fumble first and then the interception. Then I think it was like was it? Let me see. I got it written down.
Which fumble? DJ's fumble?
DJ fumbled the ball. No, well, he didn't fumble it. Shipley fumbled it.
Yeah, Shipley
first. Right, Shipley fumbled it first, which gave Syracuse another chance to go score. They didn't take advantage of that one. So that was the second other mistake. Then there was a mistake at or questionable first catch when they made the switch to quarterbacks. It like the 4-minute mark. And
hold on, what was the questionable catch?
Well, I didn't think he caught that ball. The
Zero?
Yeah, Hero, yeah. Did you think that was a catch?
Yes.
See, I didn't think it looked like it hit the ground to me. But they got the credit for it. So you can't argue with the play.
Well, the coaches can't challenge it like the NFL.
Right.
But they can stop it in the booth. And so apparently they weren't able to see that it was enough to where they normally buzz the referees if they're questionable.
Which was surprising to me because when they kept showing the replay, I was like, "That he looks like it hit the ground." But I said, "Okay, no problem." But at that time, you're not thinking that's going to be a massive problem. The big problem of that drive was the out of bounds penalty that Syracuse earned. Like that was just dumb, right? He pushed the kid out of bounds. That was just dumb.
Right.
Now, so that pretty much sealed the deal on that drive that they were gonna, eventually score and get in there. So I didn't worry about that one as much. The one that was more controversial was the fourth quarter, almost exact type of play that Syracuse Schrader got pushed out of bounds, like clearly was out of bounds, and the guy pushed him. They didn't call that one. And that was one where if they had kept that drive going, because they seemed like they were driving down the field, they were doing pretty good. The momentum was, the momentum hadn't completely swung in Clemson's favor yet. They didn't make that call. That was a big deal because that was a third down play. They didn't make the call. That switched it back over, and then Shipley breaks that 50-yard run after that in the next drive, and that was the backbreaker, man. I mean, it was like from the play he got pushed out of bounds to the Shipley run, all of their air, all of their more personal momentum. It was like they were in a daze, and you could see it. Charlie, you see the game? You saw the game, so you saw them on the sideline. It just looked like we can't win this. Like that, and so they got it. I'll never commit.
Let me stop you for a minute.
Stop me right there, brother.
And just share with you what it's like playing in a hostile environment.
Thank you. That's what I want to hear.
Because they hadn't been there. So when you start thinking about playing a good team on the road and having to fight through adversity, yes, that's what happens. Your heads go down and you allow that split moment to get you. And next thing you know, you're in the lead. Next thing you know, you're down. Now, how are we going to respond? And they responded, but they didn't respond enough to be able to win the football game because they gave up, I don't know how many points in the fourth quarter. After that moment, it was like bang, back to back to back,
right,
forward to put it out of reach. And so that is what we tried to share with you about.
You did, okay, but again, I honestly, and this is real talk here, I honestly thought Syracuse had the maturity to overcome that. I really did. And they kind of did have that maturity until, listen, you can't overcome. Hold on, Charlie. Now, wait a minute, Charlie. Now, you can't overcome the bad plays and bad calls. That's hard to do. Those are some bad calls.
Lord, Kendrick,
Mm-hmm.
could you please help our friend out? Like I definitely understand where he's coming from. But
that's just
what
life
is
on
this?
the that's
Go
life
ahead.
on the road.
That's life on the road. I agree with you. It's just, oh man, you know what? I felt for them because that was a game they should have won. There was a game they should have won.
Okay, let me raise my hand because there's been plenty of games I know I've seen that teams should have won, but they didn't win.
Right?
For whatever reason.
You're really enjoying this, aren't you, Charlie?
And then you look back and say, man, I wish we could have had that game back. We would have done X, Y, and Z differently. Yeah. We would have handled X, Y, and Z differently. But what I say is you learn from it. Don't work to try to repeat it as you continue to move forward. They do have a very good football team. They're playing with backups at certain positions. I mean, guys were going down. They were coming back in.
Yeah.
They're playing with undersized defensive linemen. You got all the above. And they were able to, muster up a good football game, but they just weren't able to overcome on the road.
Well, as simple as that. And I knew that. My question is for Lloyd is, where did you think they had all this experience coming from?
No, this wasn't about the experience. This was about just the ability and the talent to pull it off. And I still think they could have and should have pulled it off. I don't have a different opinion about them being able to pull it off.
I don't disagree with that.
Yeah. They played well enough to win for the most part. But those little mistakes, like you said, on the road in a hostile environment, in an unfavorable environment where you're not going to necessarily get the call.
And you haven't been in it.
Huh? Yeah, you haven't been
in it.
Yeah.
Because like part of the experience is not letting things snowball. And that's what happened. The thing snowballed on them. And you can see it coming. You can see it coming in that third quarter when everything happened. Especially when Shipley had that big run. I think Syracuse was still up when Shipley had that big run, and I was like, "Oh, this is over."
Yeah,
no. I think the run is what put them over. Yeah. But I don't know.
You can see it coming though.
Well, listen. After that push, after that non-call on the push, it was like, this is.
No, actually, on the push on the Syracuse player, you can see it coming then.
Right, that's when I thought it was going to be bad because they took that one really, really hard, and you could see it all the way across the team, and rightfully so because that was a drive killer because they were trying to build back the momentum and say, okay, we got screwed on the other thing, but let's keep going. We're going to be all right. And then when that happened, it was like, well, we can't. I think they were kind of thinking we can't win. So, and then that last play that Schrader had on the last drive when they were marching.
Can't blame Dino for that.
Can't blame Dino for that one. That was just a completely bad read.
So I asked this question.
Yeah.
So all the things that we've talked about, where does Coach Babers come in to?
Well, Charlie, that's why I said. That's why I said I'm coming on to formally apologize. It wasn't my only thing was, as bad as things were going, I was wondering where the voice was to kind of pull everybody together. A lot of times you see all coaches pull everybody together in a moment and just say, snap out of it. You have that snap out of it speech. I'm sure every coach has one in their bag. We've had it, coaching our little small level stuff, but you have that snap out of it moment, like, okay, guys, we can still win this, And I never saw that moment. And normally that moment appears, and I just didn't see that. But other than that, I can't blame him. When you go back and watch, you're like, okay, this was not quite Dino's complete fault here. Like, so, but now let's talk about the other elephant in the room.
I think you watching too many of these Walt Disney movies.
I I was waiting. Well, I was waiting for a remember the time moment. I was.
You're right.
But let's talk about the other elephant in the room.
What elephant? There's no elephant. Let's put it to rest. You heard the coach after the game. I know where you're going. You heard the coach after the game.
I did.
And people are blowing this way out of proportion. Like, this is a huge deal. I sat back and I started thinking about my junior year when the coaches sat me down on numerous occasions. And one of those occasions was at Clemson, and another occasion was at home against North Carolina. And I had thrown like 8 interceptions in 2 games before the North Carolina game. And I actually got booed at home. I don't know if you heard this story, but I actually got booed at home.
Wow.
I threw an interception against North Carolina. The coaches sat me down. Danny Canal goes in the game, plays a couple series. This was like in the first half. And so I got an opportunity to go back in and did okay. We ended up winning the game. But those moments do happen where if the quarterback is not doing what you expect him to do and he's having an off day, I don't see it a big deal if you have a quarterback that can go in and keep the team moving, which Clemson, of course, we talked about. He's good enough to be able to play, and they did that. And that's going to be one of my shout-outs. But I agree with, because I was sitting there saying they need to do something to change the momentum of their offense. And he pulled a trigger and gave DJ an opportunity. If he wanted to go back into the game, he gave him opportunity to see what was going on so that when he got back into the game, he would at least understand and know what they were doing from the sideline. But he continued, because the offense was moving, he continued to keep him in there, and he just finished out the game. And so I don't see it as a big issue. Everyone sees it as a big issue because the quarterback that came in manufactured drives and put drives together. If they don't get the penalty on third down, they've done really
same thing. Yeah.
Same thing.
Yeah.
So that is my point. When they brought him in the game, they did not ask him to do much of anything.
Right.
He made some plays. I don't get me wrong. He made some plays throwing the football.
That's a great throw on that conversion.
Correct.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So,
sure.
So he did do some good things, but they didn't ask him to put the ball in harm's way.
So I'm going to shock both of you. I agree. I when you go back and look at the move and what it does for the game, it was the right move. Because that was the other thing I said. But I don't know. But that was the other thing I was kind of frustrated with Dino about. Like, you should have been ready for this. But then how do you get ready for that? Like, there's no tape on it.
Nothing happened to show that he wasn't ready. He wasn't like he did anything.
well, here's what I mean by ready for it. I think, all week long, and Charlie, you know this well, you're studying tendencies of a guy. And clearly they had DJ's tendencies down. They knew kind of all of his reads and the type of stuff he likes to do. And they were prepared. They were very prepared for that. Not so much with this kid. No, not that they had to be overly prepared for him, because he wasn't great. He was okay. He did it just enough, like you said, to go and keep the chains moving. He made a couple of decent throws. But the one thing that you don't always know as a defender, you don't know what those little tails are. So that was enough to it was just subtle enough a move to throw Syracuse off enough to pull this off, because that move actually and I think he had a run at one point too early in this thing. And it was right. It was a good run. So now you see another dual threat that you don't know his tendencies. So I think that was as much a reason as why Shipley was able to break that run as anything, because you're, as a defender, you're going, okay, What's this kid gonna do? Because we don't know. We haven't seen anything on him. So I like the move. Now I'll just say this. I don't think it's a huge deal, but I do think it's kind of a deal because it also says that if he was to struggle again, I'm gonna do this again. And then at that point, how many times can you keep doing it? How many times can you keep going back to that? So
yeah, I understand that.
Yeah.
That piece of it. And like I said, my story, of course, is not everyone's story, but it is part of what people go through. I think he's mentally in a good place to where, he can bounce back from it. It's not something that would potentially linger. I also think coaches have to put him in a better situation when he's struggling, not giving him as many opportunities to put the ball in harm's way in some form or fashion, just to, keep it moving. And so I'm not saying they put him out there, but he still has made good decisions and what have you when the plays call. Because some of those throws were either late. They some good plays by the defense by undercutting one. One was an overthrow, late in the game.
Yeah.
The fumble on the goal line. That's what he normally does. He fakes it and he keeps it. And most times there's nobody there. However, they had two guys there. So it's just him understanding, just play the game, because down in the red zone, you can always count on. I mean, I watched him enough this year in the red zone.
Yeah.
Quarterback's keeping the football. Like, whether it's a quarterback draw, whether it's, the read. So that's just what they do.
Did you agree with it?
I totally agree. And one thing I'm going back to is he's like, why didn't they why didn't they know the backups' tendencies? What team does know the backups' tendencies?
Exactly.
Especially when the backup
There's no way to know that. Yeah. There's no way to know that. It really is. Yeah.
They know it, but they haven't prepared for it because they haven't prepared fully for all the things.
They only have so much time to prepare.
It's the same thing that happened in FSU at Louisville. When Jordan Travis went out, they had to, try to figure out what does Tate do well. And they didn't know he could throw the football probably.
and it's hard to figure that out on the fly. So that's why I said, okay, I got to back down. Because I think my emotions were fully invested. I don't know why I got so invested in this series.
You look so invested.
I was so invested. I don't know why, but I was deeply invested. Okay. So that was Syracuse Clemson. Another interesting game. Louisville won against Pitt, but there was a weird moment in that third quarter where they made a switch. And I don't know what that was about, Kendrick. You were there. So what was that about?
Yeah. Malik got hurt again. That's basically what they're saying.
Is that what they're saying? Okay.
That's been a
even though he was standing on the sideline with his helmet on right next to the coach looking perfectly healthy. I'm just saying.
I love Malik as a kid.
Yeah.
But that dude gets hurt every game.
All the time. All the time, man. It's
What are you talking about? Somebody where you might need to know the backup's tendencies. It is U of L because
he's looking real Anthony Davis right now. He's looking real Anthony Davis.
But their offense was a struggle.
Yeah.
But their defense played as good as they've played all season.
Yeah, it was a good game.
Especially coordinator?
Huh?
Who's the defensive coordinator?
Brian Brown.
A guy they've been thinking about. Or fans have wanted fired for quite some time right now.
I'm just asking who the coordinator is, because I heard that coordinator needing to leave and all that kind of carrying on. So
great point, Charlie.
So now we're saying the defense is playing okay.
They played great.
They played great Saturday.
It's been 2 games in a row. That's the first time that you could say that in a couple of years that they played great 2 games in a row. It's the inconsistency has been the problem. But Yasir Abdullah in that game was unbelievable.
Man amongst boys.
That interception he had, while it was an incredibly dumb decision to throw that ball for Slovis, he had this is a linebacker who has a receiver blanketed. I mean, you can't see the receiver in the shot.
Right.
And then for him to get that strip sack at the end of the game, I mean, he had an amazing game on Saturday night.
Which brings us to another conversation. Slovis, is it time? Is it time to possibly just maybe consider another option? Because, my God, man, like, they
were calling for him to be benched during the game.
Well, and it's not even just that. It's really bad decisions, in my opinion. Some of it is just really bad decisions. Like, bro, what are you watching? What are you seeing?
That first interception, I mean, Abdullah has this guy blanketed. There's somebody running underneath, wide open for an easy first down, maybe more, and he
said, "Nah, we're going there." Charlie, what do you mentioned being benched? You mentioned making that switch. That's the player side. As the coach, though, what do you do? What do you say to a young man who's playing like this consistently? Like, Slovis is this every week now, it seems like. And what do you say to the? How do you overcome this, or can you?
Well, I mean, you already told you. I saw this happening in the spring.
You did. You are not a fan. You are not a fan.
Charlie was on this.
Charlie, you have been on this from the start.
On this early.
That is very true. You have been on this from the start.
One thing I evaluate when I look at quarterbacks is one of the major things is decision making. And so, when I watched him, when a quarterback makes good decisions, most times either the guy's open that you're throwing the ball to, or you're throwing him open, and you're able to hit your target like consistently. The times I've seen him, he does none of the above.
None of the above, which speaks to a benching, in my opinion.
That could be an issue.
The thing must be is that whoever they have behind him must not.
That's what I'm wondering now.
I was thinking the same thing. I said the backup must be really bad if Slovis is the answer.
That has to be the answer. Like, the person that they have behind them probably doesn't give him much hope either. Like, to the point where you can't put him in and offense can function.
Yeah,
they did put him in a little bit Saturday, and they just had him running around a little bit.
So, well, then there it is. Maybe he just doesn't have it. Okay. Well, another game where there could be and maybe should be time to start looking at the play. I mean, first of all, this ain't your granddaddy's Duke, okay? Let's be clear about that. This is not your granddaddy's Duke. This Duke team can play.
This is the Steve Spurrier Duke.
Right.
So that is your granddaddy's Duke.
Yeah. It is your granddaddy. I stand corrected. It is your granddaddy's Duke. They can play. They're gonna be in every game, I believe, this season. Miami, however,
we need Miami to struggle. Maybe not this week, but the next couple weeks.
I have a feeling you're gonna get your wish, because I don't know, man. Something is off. It's just off.
But they're going through the first year coaching blues, where there was some dysfunction within, and the new coach is trying to break the psyche of his team, because we've been through it. When we were going through coaching changes here at Florida State, trying to get the right mentality and the right players, and so you hear Coach Cristobal talking about the transfer portal and
already
guys who don't want to compete, they got to leave, and all that. That's what you start hearing when you're trying to change the mindset and the culture. I just think right now, Miami as a whole, like the fans aren't showing up like you would expect to have a home field advantage. The players, if you lose a couple of players here and there, some of your key players, you struggle. So they're kind of in that moment where they're all just trying to find their way.
It may be a complete Florida thing, because other than Florida State, the state of Florida is not supporting sports, it feels like right now. Like
University of Florida, UCF.
Has the UCF games been good? Because I'm just saying, my Giants played there this past
The
Saturday.
one UCF game I saw this year, they had a good crowd.
They had a good crowd. I'm just saying, my Giants played in Jacksonville this weekend. It looked like a home game.
Well, it's Jacksonville.
But that's what I'm saying. Florida feels like they got better things to do with their time, I guess, than go to Miami games.
I do have a question for you, Charlie. And it may sound silly on the surface, but I wonder if there's something to it. Because one of the first things he did when he took over at Miami was get rid of the turnover chain. And while it seems the turnover chain seemed kind of goofy and gimmicky at the beginning, and it got really gimmicky when everybody else started doing it,
right?
That's something that they started, that they had pride in, and him taking that away immediately. Could that have an effect on the team?
No. I mean, turnover chain?
Because it felt like they took especially look how bad the defense is. They gave up 45 points to Duke. It seemed like it was something they took pride in. Getting the turnover and being able to celebrate and get the turnover chain. I'm just throwing it out there. I mean, it could be completely silly. If it is, just let me know. But
you can throw it. You can throw it. You can throw it out as well. Getting a stop doesn't mean that if you don't have a turnover chain, then that's something else wrong. I mean, plus it was a big money deal. Like it wasn't just your fake.
Nah, it was real.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So I don't think that's the big issue. The issue is they're just going through a program shift, culture, trying to figure out, new offense, new defense. All that plays a big part in, losing the quarterback during the middle of the game didn't help either. And then defensively, I really hadn't sat and watched them, but to give up 45 points, I know a couple of those were offense. I mean, Duke's defense scoring, but still,
we saw that defense get torched by Middle Tennessee. So yeah,
I mean they have some things that they have to work out defensively as well. I just hope they don't try to get it fixed by next week.
They need a little more time. Okay. So that was interesting. By the way, real quick, either of you ready to bench Van Dyke yet?
Well, he's already. I mean, he's hurt.
Oh, well, so he's benching himself, and essentially,
he hurt his shoulder. I don't know if he'll be back like my man Bryce Young, but in 2 weeks. But
I'm noticing a theme in all of Charles.
I'm sensing it as well. Like there feels like a very specific type of scouting that's going on right now.
I don't know if he's going to be back in 2 weeks with a bum shoulder.
Is that an analysis or a wish? It feels very much like hey Charlie, actually you may want him back in 2 weeks because you
the Garcia playing. But I just think they're in a funk right now.
They are in a funk for sure.
Because I'm wondering if we have the same situation as we do in Pittsburgh, where if he's still playing, what's wrong with the backup?
Yeah. 1,000%. 1,000%. This game was brutal. I gotta be honest with you. This was a hard game to watch, and
there was an availability to watch it.
Listen, I'm almost at a point where I think we should just start banning all Thursday night games, like college and pro. Just let's move on from that. It ain't working. And then
tonight's game should be better.
Tonight's game could be better. We'll see. But we make no promises because.
But Virginia, I don't know. They had opportunities. They just didn't take advantage of them because Georgia Tech Sims left the game and they brought in the backup. And they moved the football a little bit, but they didn't move it enough to where you felt like they were going to be able to score a touchdown.
Right.
And so I was just disappointed that Virginia didn't take advantage of their opportunities. Now the other guy that's almost on the Keaton Slovis train is my man Brandon Armstrong.
Yeah.
I mean, last year I don't know what it was, but this year his decision making.
I think last year, how well he played last year was keeping him on the field this year. So hopefully he can find whatever it was last year.
Well,
he had guys open, and he's throwing behind them, and he's just missing guys. I mean, like guys wide open.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just sitting there like, and there's nobody at his feet, not like no pressure or anything. And I'm like, man. And then he throws a pass over a guy to his guy. And I'm like, you hit that one. So I think he's been the biggest disappointment for Virginia this year. And then he goes off on like people, or he doesn't go. Another thing is he doesn't go and talk. Like I didn't see him talking to his receivers, the linemen. Then like every time he came off the field, he was going sit next to whoever that was. They kept showing him next to. Like that's his buddy.
Yeah, there's definitely some disconnect there. Something is wrong for sure. I don't know if he had draft desires or he thought he might after last year's play. Maybe slip into a late round situation. If I were him, I would probably work on that resume and just really focus on the future beyond. Maybe there's some sports opportunities in journalism or something, but I don't think it's going to be in the NFL. And then finally, Wake Forest does what Wake Forest does. Boston College does what Boston College does. So not a whole lot to discuss here. Boston College, man, I just feel bad for Zay Flowers because Zay Flowers, to me, is a first or second round player that's stuck in purgatory. Like he'll
still be.
It'll work out for him personally, but
because he's a very good football player. He's just. Do you see Boston College like getting out of that deal, like being where they are right now?
No.
They had, to their credit, they had like 5 of their offensive line to go to the NFL.
Right, and that's good. Yeah, I don't know. For me, Boston College is such a weird team because like they play like this pretty much every year, except when they play Louisville. With Louisville, it's like, oh, we can beat them. Like, but with everybody else,
they
it's
played
like
all year, and that was one of those defensive inconsistency games that we were talking about with U of L.
It's so weird. but when you watch them play, you're like, this team is not very good. So I don't know. Can they come out of it, Charlie? Probably not. They probably need to make some changes, wholesale changes there as well. But last week was weird. Huh?
The quarterback, Jurich, I think.
Yeah.
To me, I know I saw him
against
FSU. He's in that Slovis, Brandon Armstrong type category where I thought he would be
take that next step. Yeah.
But he was missing open guys, throwing, bad balls, bad decisions. And it was just that whole deal. I was like, man, I thought he was better than this.
Think about it coming into the season. How high we were on all the quarterbacks in this league.
Well, because you were thinking these guys have been here. Well, you're thinking these guys have been here. Surely they're going to take the next step. And if they do,
back at the position.
And it has not worked out, man. It's been rough. ACC season for these quarterbacks. So, with my gamble and Georgia Tech's unfortunate situation, that put me at 3-2 this week, and of course, you guys went 4-1. Some couple of games back. But listen, again, if you're going to betonline.ag and you said these picks on the ACC, believe in the ACC are pretty good, you'd be right. You're making a ton of money right now. You're already putting in a bid on your summer home. So there you go. All right. Which brings us to week 9. Gentlemen, we got some interesting games going on this week. Starting with tonight, Virginia Tech and North Carolina State. Who do you got?
This is really tough because we know what Virginia Tech does, and we know what NC State does. The quarterback who's now for NC State, he has 2 games on his belt, I think, as a starter.
Yeah.
So he has to be better in the passing game. That's where he's struggling right now, I think.
Yeah.
So if he can get the passing game, which I'm guessing they've been working on something to be able to get him some easy throws, some easy reads, to be able to get him, where he needs to go. Run game. If he plays okay, they'll win the game. Which I'm going to choose them because on the flip side, Virginia Tech hadn't really played well.
They become a stat game, Charlie.
Right. Anytime a game comes up and the whole team goes, yeah, that's probably not good for that other team.
I do think the NC State quarterback situation makes this game a tad bit more interesting.
Right.
But it's only a tad.
Now, why does Virginia Tech come out tonight and
I know it.
If they were at Virginia Tech, I would think that was a possibility.
That was the thing for me too. If they were in at Blacksburg, I'd be like, okay, they might have a shot, but because they're on the road. Another interesting one. I'm be honest with you.
If you asked me 2 weeks ago, I'd have said this game was not going to be interesting.
Right, I'd have said Wake Forest in a heartbeat. And my losses, U of L has contributed quite a bit to that this year. so my confidence in believing in them is not high. However, I will stick out my neck one more time only for the reason that the game is at U of L. And maybe they figured something out defensively that will make a difference. I'm probably gonna get burned for this one, but I'm gonna stick out for U of L on this one.
Yeah, I do think that U of L will give them all they want. I do think it would be a close game, but I have a little bit more faith in Wake Forest offense than I do in U of L's defense. Even though the U of L's defense has shown improvement, I have a little bit more faith in the Wake Forest offense.
Charlie, what are you doing here?
I'm going Wake Forest. They've shown time and time again they can win anywhere.
Yeah.
And their style is difficult to play against.
And you know what else, Charlie?
What's that?
They've played road games.
They won road.
You know what? Let's move on.
Having their team like 6-year, 5th-year students.
Yeah, they have played road games, that's for sure. When you got a team full of grad students, you've played road games. There you go. This is an interesting one in the sense that, again, Syracuse thankfully got this at home, but this is what. Well,
how many games they got at home?
They got a lot of games. The same amount as Clemson. Clemson's down the stretch got a lot of games at home.
But they at least played on the road.
They did play on the road. I can't argue against
Only
that.
played on the road twice all season.
Hey, you can't fault them for good. Hey, you can't fault them for good scheduling. You cannot fault them for good scheduling. This thing has worked out well for them. And by the way, I'd say Dino's still in some conversations for Coach of the Year.
He should be.
Yeah.
I hadn't seen enough of Notre Dame to be able to. I know they're 4-3.
Yeah, something like that.
So.
Yeah.
They seem like offensively they started to put some points on the board because I think they got a quarterback now that they're confident in. This is a tough one because we still don't know how Syracuse is going to respond.
Right.
This is their first loss. They're coming off first loss, even though they played well. I do think they'll play much better at home, which they've shown to do this year. They haven't lost at home. So I'm going to go with Syracuse.
All right.
I'm with Charlie on this one. And plus, no, I haven't seen anything from Notre Dame that lets me know that they can go and beat a ranked team on the road this year. So, yeah, I'm going with Syracuse on that one.
And I will join the both of you as well. Why are we even playing this game? Like, I don't even. Is it just because you have to play a certain amount of games?
Well, apparently UConn is an ACC home game.
No, this is on the road. This is on the road.
I'm saying they like to host some ACC teams.
Oh, they like to host you. Well, because they
host the former Big East ACC.
I got you. Right.
So I mean, maybe they're going to be an honorary member like Vanderbilt.
They should be in the standings at this point.
It's like Liberty. Liberty played 1 year, last year.
They played every ACC team. It seemed like, at least it seemed like it anyway. Yeah. Oh, who are you guys going with this? It's got to be Boston College, right? Doesn't it?
Yeah.
Boston College should win this game. If they don't, they need to be.
Yeah, they got to shut that thing down.
Need the ACC card pull.
Yeah. They got to shut that thing down. It's bad. At that point, it's bad. Speaking of bad, Miami and Virginia.
Oh.
This is tricky. This is a lot trickier than it looks.
I'm going with the old standard, going with the home team.
I think I'm going to join you on that. I have no faith in Miami, none whatsoever.
None.
I'm gonna go to home state. This is more so because my wife went to Miami. Anything else? If Virginia can't score more than 16 points against Georgia Tech on the road, Miami gave up 45 points to Duke. It should be a close game. At least Miami scored 21 points.
Right.
At some point, I don't know if that was when Van Dyke was playing or not. But I'm just gonna go with Miami just because to be different.
Who am I going with? Miami? Do I believe in Van Dyke or do I believe in Brennan Armstrong?
But Van Dyke probably not playing. So
or is there the other?
It's got to be the other. And
that's another reason why I'm going with Virginia because I don't know who this other is.
I'm going Virginia, but I'm not confident.
You like Garcia though, right?
I'm not going that far.
Pitt and North Carolina. There's no way we're going Pitt on this, so I'll just pick everybody on UNC.
We're going UNC. UNC rolling right now.
Right, UNC is rolling right now. They're playing some good football.
Yeah.
And then the final game of the week, Georgia Tech, Florida State. No Sims means no chance, in my opinion.
Right.
So I'm sure we're all going FSU on that one.
Supposed to win.
The game that I'm most curious about again is the Notre Dame Syracuse. If Syracuse can bounce back from that game,
but they should.
That says a lot about what they've accomplished this year, even though it's another home game.
They play much better. They play much better.
They do.
Even though games are close, that's the thing, that when the games are close, they play much better at home.
Yeah. Should be an interesting weekend of football. Once again in the ACC. Guys, who are you shouting out this week? We'll start with the great Charlie Ward.
We're already kind of in it at what my shout out. My shout out is for the Clemson football program, mainly Coach Sweeney and DJ, on how they handle the whole benching deal after the game and the press conference. Even Cade handled it well. And so that just kind of shows you what family looks like. Even though he probably was disheartened that he didn't finish the game because he's a competitor, that's one of the things Coach Sweeney said that DJ was. He's a competitor. And so most competitors don't like sitting over there watching, especially when you're supposed to be out there. Right. And so for him to even if he didn't fully believe what he said, to say what he said after the game, just shows the kind of culture, the mindset that they have for one another. And so I'm happy to just hear that, because everybody and their mama wanted to hear something that was different than what they said after the game. So I'm shouting out the Clemson team, mainly the quarterback and the head coach.
Awesome. Mr. Haskins, who you shouting out this week?
Well, I always shouted out Yasir Abdullah. I'll shout him out again because that was an amazing game on Saturday. And I also want to shout out the University of Louisville volleyball fans. They had a pack the house game last night at the KFC Yum Center.
Oh, wow.
Against Notre Dame, and 9,000 people showed up for U of L volleyball match last night.
Wow.
So shout out to the U of L fans for showing up and showing out for the Cards last night.
How are they doing? Are they still?
They lost to Pitt on Sunday. That's their first ACC loss in 2 years. But they've only lost twice all year. So they're fine.
They're doing fine. Well, my shout out is off the radar a little bit. I got to shout out one Deion Sanders, who will be hosting College Game Day this weekend. That is a massively good look for Jackson State, and even bigger look for HBCUs. And it's going to be a quality game. Southern and Jackson State should be an interesting game this weekend. But that's a great look and a great movement, and everything they're doing down there is just top shelf, top quality. Exactly how it should be across the board for all universities. You would like that to be the way it is at all universities. But I love what he's doing down there, and I just want to keep supporting it and, sending out our love and well wishes and all that good stuff. So shout out to Deion Sanders and those guys for bringing College Game Day to Jackson State. Yes, sir.
But do you think this is a foundation piece, or is this anomaly to Deion Sanders, Jackson State, because of the presence that they bring? Because no other HBCU is getting pushed into, all HBCUs are getting pushed into Jackson State.
Jackson State's momentum, yeah.
So do you think this is a foundational, or is this a one school that's kind of carrying the mantle for all the other schools to be able to get the necessary things that they desire long term?
Well, I'll answer real quick, Kendrick, but the hope is that it's foundational. I don't know if it is, because the one thing that Deion does even better than coaching is that he's a hell of a salesman. Right. And that ability to sell and to promote, it's undeniable. And they don't have that across the board in the HBCUs right now. And I've said this before, what I would on another show, I would love to see, rather than him going to a Power 5, I'd love to see HBCUs decide to come together and create their own thing, and Deion be at the helm of it, and let what he does kind of become the standard that all of them function by, and then let him go help recruit your coaches and help him build your programs across the HBCU platform. What a legacy that would be if he could do something like that. But it feels like a one-off, Charlie, unfortunately, because it's Deion, and who doesn't want to be around Deion? So
right. I'm kind of in between, because like I have noticed that ESPN has been doing more at HBCU campuses, not just Jackson State. I mean, I know they've been at a couple schools this year.
Yeah, I think FAMU got a lot of love.
Stephen A. Smith is taking them. He's taking the forefront on bringing more attention to the HBCUs, because he's an HBCU grad himself.
Right.
Him and Bomani Jones have been doing more. So hopefully that is, but I can see it going, I mean, because Deion is he is the show. I mean, he is prime time, and so I can see they gravitating towards him. I can understand that. But either way, with him there and him being able to do that and being able to garner so much attention, it does bring attention to everyone else. And so hopefully, I hope he stays. Personally, I hope he stays at Jackson State and builds that thing out.
Absolutely.
And, they can help give him the resources he needs, and hopefully the rest of the, like you said, Lloyd, the HBCUs can all get together, and who knows, maybe they could be a Conference USA type conference, or something like that. So I mean, I'd like to see that. I'd like to see them be able to get together and have Deion be at the forefront.
Well, at this point, honestly, there's really no, other than travel, there's no real, and even that doesn't really bother it that much. There's no real reason why the SWAC and the MEAC can't come together. Like, they should just go ahead and merge and build something very, very real and substantive, and I think it would be a draw. But even beyond that, if you have a commissioner like a Deion Sanders who can truly give vision and purpose to what you're doing, it could be something. But
of course, that all goes back to TV money. If they can garner a TV contract,
but I think Deion can.
That's
get
where
that
Deion
done.
comes in.
Yeah, that's where Deion can get that done. But you're right. That's a great question, Charlie. I hope it's the start of something. Because actually, and I'll say this real quick, I was actually kind of surprised that this is the first time game day has gone to an HBCU, because of all of the years that like Eddie Robinson was there, and the Grambling Southern game was such a big deal, and like the Bayou Classic or whatever, and that was never. But I get it, because that's late November, and maybe they just like, nah.
I know NBC was big.
NBC used to
NBC is NBC was the lone voice of HBCUs for a long time.
Yeah, and now ESPN has jumped on board. I know First Take will be, they're here at in Tallahassee, family homecoming.
Mm-hmm.
I think they're doing a show here, or they may have done a show here this week. So, I think they're HBCUs are gaining momentum overall, from the NBA to the NFL. And so they're kind of gaining that momentum. Now it's just time for the HBCUs to not have the debacle that they had like at FAMU, that, kind of up the ante.
Yeah. Yeah.
Some of those other areas to where they can, start to garner that support.
Yeah. Well, and this is definitely one of those conversations we need to get back into. This is a good one. This is definitely a good one.
I do have one quick shout out for
yes, sir.
Lloyd. Shout out to the shooting coach for the Lakers.
Why would you do that? why would you do that? I'm in a good space this morning. I've been apologizing. I'm on an apology tour. You know what I'm saying? I made things right with Dino. Me and Dino back together. We good again. Why would you do that? That wasn't necessary.
The Giants are doing really, really well.
Giants are doing really well. My Giants are killing it. Listen, that's the only hope I have right now, Charlie. So, who
would have thought at this point in the season that the Giants will have more wins than the Lakers?
Hey, the Giants shoot better threes than the Lakers, so that's why they got more wins. Listen,
Daniel Jones, baby, Daniel Jones.
Y'all give me a minute because we're gonna have a quick discussion about that when we get off. This has been a great show. I hope everybody feels loved and warmed up. That's Kendrick Haskins over there, I think, right there. That's Charlie Ward down there. I'm Lloyd Spence. Hope you guys had a good time. We'll see you later. You've been listening to BLEAV in the ACC with Charlie Ward, Lloyd Spence, and Kendrick Haskins. Please like, follow, subscribe, and share from the Noisemakers page on Facebook and on YouTube. And you can also listen to us on Spotify, Apple Music, iTunes, and wherever podcasts can be heard. And